All right, happy start to the summer. Time for another video. This is Jim Ventura, your snake oil salesman, navigational consultant, and astrologer. Welcome. This one is about winter-green lifesavers. Actually, it's about more than that. We're talking a bit about addiction, or more likely indulgence, and the roots behind that. Uh, you know, I actually talked about this subject many, many years ago. Actually, it's in my second book, Snake Oil Volume 1. You can get that on Amazon. I wrote about what the emotional, spiritual causes were behind different substances that we crave. And getting away from major addiction stuff like big drugs and things like that. I'm talking about like the day-to-day things that most human beings, can be a bit overindulgent about or get pulled into. I mean, not only do they have obviously physical things that stimulate the brain and other triggers in the body, but there are spiritual, emotional reasons, as there are behind everything, for the things that we crave and sometimes overindulge in. When I was a kid, it's a great example of this. My mom had this, like, what I used to jokingly call the magic drawer in her bedroom, and it was always like there was usually chocolates in there, chocolate bars and things that she'd pick up, secretly stash in there. When we were good, we'd occasionally get those things, which wasn't that often, apparently. But she always had winter-green lifesavers in there, and that I remember once. Like just begging her to try one of those. Oh, horrible, by the way. Oh my God, that was like her special indulgence treat that my mom had. But even though we thought of that as like this magical drawer, and hopefully something would come out of there once in a while, I never did take anything out of there. I mean, I was never a bad kid in that way. But anyway, when we were kids, we always got there was always pudding for dessert or Jello or some type of sweet thing that we would get. And, it was interesting when I learned this about, starting off with one of the biggies, which is sugar. What sugar does into our emotional, spiritual bodies and all of those things as well. So when we crave sugar, it's actually interesting. It's usually because some part of us is feeling unlovable. So sugar masks that. It makes us, temporarily when we eat it feel, loved in a way. This isn't as esoteric as it would sound. Really think about this. For the most part, most human beings are triggered this way in that sense, and that's the way that the body ultimately responds. So yeah, when we were kids, Mom didn't show us a lot of affection, a lot of love. It wasn't easy for her. No attack on my mom. But we get our treats, and later on in life, I found myself when I got older, always feeling like I deserved a treat, especially if I was feeling emotionally unstable or something was going on. So that knowledge has gone a long way in helping me to mitigate a lot of this problems with sugar. So, astrologically, people who have strong Taurus in their chart, the negative pole of Taurus is I indulge. Whether it's your sun sign, rising sign, moon sign, Venus, things like that, often going to have more problems sometimes with this than other people will. But there's a good side to indulgence, and then there's looking at what's really going on when we're craving something. So that's what's so key about learning this. It can go a really long way in helping you to minimize your cravings and really get in touch with why you're craving those things in the first place. So again, biggie, of course, is sugar. And it masks feeling lovable. Another big one, of course, that people crave is chocolate, and it has the same implication as sugar does, but with kind of an added perk, so to speak, to it. Chocolate also helps us mask feeling, comfortable with intimacy. There's similar triggers in a way emotionally to even sexual contact, intimacy, things of that nature when you're craving chocolate. Again, that should come as no surprise to anybody, in that way, because, we sort of joke about that as well, too. Another common one that people obviously crave and overindulge in, of course, is alcohol. Alcohol masks fear. So when people become alcoholics, when they drink too much, when they find themselves pulling toward that, it is to mask those fears that we feel as human beings. Listen, some fear, of course, is normal, but when we drink too much, it's often to kind of put down fears that we're having trouble dealing with. Think about the Eagles song, "Take Another Shot of Courage." Again, think about when someone gets drunk and they're going to finally tell you what they really think of you, and and be reckless, and I can drive, and the beer goggles and all the other jokes that we talk about. But it masks that fear. So again, in a small amount of alcohol, you're going to feel a little more confident. You might approach someone you normally wouldn't. But when you're drinking too much, yeah, there is a connection in terms of that masking of fear. So being aware of that, again, can go a long way. Another biggie that, of course, is tobacco. Tobacco masks powerlessness and anger. Should not be a surprise. Casinos are packed with people smoking, and I haven't gotten a 4 of a kind on video poker in the last 2 hours. This is BS, and you know what I mean. Think about when people start smoking. Generally, when they're 12, 13, 14, when you feel most powerless and don't feel like you have much impact in the world. So again, another one that ultimately makes sense in terms of masking that sense of powerlessness. I've always said that I have no problems with smokers personally. I smoke cigars on occasion myself, but I jokingly say cigarettes sometimes look like anger sticks. Sitting around outside when I was a waiter, I remember that, pissing and moaning about the way the boss is talking to me, and I've been sitting here for 2 hours, and they want me to clean the banisters. So yeah, tobacco can operate that way in terms of that being a mask. There's also marijuana. Marijuana masks sadness. A lot of mature older souls are drawn to this particular somewhat natural drug, and it masks that sadness for the world and mistakes people make, and the dynamics that way. Another huge one, of course, is caffeine. And what does caffeine mask? Well, drum roll. Caffeine masks everything, all of those things. So this is why we have such a culture that's so addicted to caffeine as well. So what I always kind of tell people is this: listen, all things in moderation. I've never been an advocate for getting rid of some of the delicious things in life. Sometimes you want a piece of cheesecake and a cup of coffee, and to smoke a cigarette, and and in Europe and places like that, they don't smoke necessarily as obsessively. I'm not like other people in the way that I think that you have to get rid of everything. But as your spiritual vibration levels increase, you will find yourself sometimes becoming more uncomfortable with these things, and your body responds more, less comfortably to some of these toxic things. So again, not about getting rid of it. My advice that I always suggest, again, all things in moderation. I'll repeat that again. But it goes a long way in looking at if you want to learn how to control and get over indulgence, and even in extreme cases addiction, to where these things stem from. So knowledge will get you somewhere. Okay, so thanks for tuning in today. Listen, hit subscribe, and so you can catch my videos and subscribe to the station. You can also catch my radio shows that I do about twice a month on Blog Talk Radio, Snake Oil Radio, as well as my column that you can find on the blog spot, or email me to get that information. Again, remember to subscribe to my YouTube videos. There'll be more in the future, and thanks for joining me today. Again, enjoy your day, and all things in moderation. Cheers.